Good morning and welcome to the Hodge Pack Sports Life and everything in between the country. John, we're glad that you're great Friday morning. We are brought to you by Lotto Landing Cattle, hanging out on in the Cozy Life studio, and our guest appear on our Pest Control phone line, which we will have that ringing a little bit later on. I'll tell you why about that in a minute. But Hodge and Josh are here. Josh, how's the Friday early morning rolling?
Doing good. Doing really good.
Going good, and we got a lot of stuff going on. We got the Open. Don't want to think of our people across the pond.
British Open, and you're way too condescending if you refer to it as the Open Championship.
Well, it's funny.
There's other places that have an Open. You could call it like that's too confusing. So
well, but the thing is but they have it in Scotland too. They have it in Ireland. So is it still considered the British Open if it's in Ireland?
they can call it whatever they want, but they can't call it the Open Championship.
Well, for those that are curious, they do call it the Open Championship, and it is underway. And lots of stuff going on. Wimbledon happened last week. NFL news is happening. Of course, the NFL news last week, we talked a little bit about Hard Knocks, but people started reporting to camp this week, and so there's a lot to talk about. Josh, there's even some Dallas Cowboy news in what and honestly, he may be the only 99 Madden guy that we have that we may be worried about. So we'll dive right in. I am excited about our show this morning. We got a lot to cover. Texas Rangers are playing well. A lot of stuff to talk about. Josh didn't know. So Josh, what did you do last night? You said you didn't know what to do when the Rangers are not on TV. So how did you function?
No, I just mowed the grass.
Okay, so that brought you connected to the world and the Lord and all that fun stuff. So fantastic. But the Rangers are hot. A lot of stuff to talk about. Things are going well there, and we're going to try to compare Shohei to Herschel Walker, and we'll talk about that in our next segment when we do our Texas Rangers weekly update. We'll talk about that in a moment. At the bottom of this hour, an interview that I'm excited about having. Former band member of the band Perry, and former ESPN radio host Jason Fitz will join us at the bottom of the hour to talk NFL football, college football. He grew up in Vegas. Everybody going to Vegas to bring professional sports to Vegas. We'll talk about that, and a few questions about his career in not only music but also sports as well. So Jason will be at the bottom of the hour. And then at the 8 o'clock hour for our Big Country Electric My Town segment, we're going to give you an opportunity to hear from some folks that could use your help. You could you help them. They could help you make some money, have some good time, create a good relationship of officiating football. And so Phil Hill and Katie Gore will join us for our Big Country Electric My Town segment to talk about how you can get involved in officiating football, which is right around the corner. 2 days start a week from Monday. Which means high school football and all the things we have to do soon. So that'll be a little bit later on. Misty's bag, knowing's half the battle, lots to cover today, but we want to dive right into our Lawrence Hall headline report, brought to you by Lawrence Hall of Abilene. Appreciate them, what they do, not only for those folks that get cars and trucks and SUVs and service, but the impact that they make on the community by giving back. So we appreciate Lawrence Hall. And our Lawrence Hall headline report kicks off with, we'll stay across the pond. Last week, Wimbledon. Marquetta Vanderosa winning the women's Wimbledon championship, and then Alex Akara winning the men's championship.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, easy for you to say, but Wimbledon champion taking down Djokovic last week in the Wimbledon championship. Moving on to the NFL, I mentioned the NFL news last night. Yesterday, the NFL owners approved a $6 billion sale of the Washington Commanders to the group led by Josh Harris. Magic Johnson's part of that group. But Josh, in that, not only, I guess you could call having to pay closing, if you will, Dan Snyder is going to have to pay $60 million in fines after an NFL investigation found that he was involved in sexual harassment of a client, of an employee, and also that they held back revenue from the NFL. And so
I think that's more important.
Yeah, and so $6 billion, the largest sale of a North American franchise. And so the Washington Commanders, and Josh Harris said it was kind of a burden relieved of the people of Washington that now Daniel Snyder's out of the building, and now they can move forward and kind of move on with this new organization, new ownership. And so we will see what happens with the Washington Commanders. DeAndre Hopkins signs with the Tennessee Titans. Most likely not going to be on a Super Bowl team. Josh, I put is money our championship. And what I meant by that in the notes was, for him, it looked like the money was the thing because he went to them. When most people in his seat that's made plenty of money, done these things, they want to go to a Super Bowl contender. When I say is money our championship, if we go to some place where the money is where we can have the chance to win, to make the most money we're ever going to make, is that kind of us going to a place that we feel like we're going to win a championship? If that makes sense.
Well, I think it makes sense, but that's funny. It's, I don't know, because that's like one of those exclusive questions that really requires way too much. Is your career success purely determined by what your paycheck is, or is it determined by like what you do to help other people and like how that makes you feel, or is it like doing a job that fulfills you and you feel happy to walk into the office every day? I mean, like, because I definitely could see situations where it'd be like that's not worth, whatever.
Not worth the move. Yeah.
Like so. But I guess that is if you're not a professional athlete, that is one of the things you can kind of judge how good you are at your job.
Well,
but that's no different for them. I mean, you can go to a winning franchise, a winning culture as a place that you feel like you belong and you're part of the team, and that can fulfill you, and you might make a little bit less money, or you could go to the highest bidder and not win games or hate your life when you leave and
right.
Go home and
I think places where you see in work world, people stay put because the culture's good, the atmosphere's good. Yes, they can make a little bit more money here, but is the gap difference better?
Is it worth it? Yeah.
So DeAndre Hopkins is going to be in Nashville. Guys, this past week it came out that Zach Martin may not report to camp because he feels like he's underpaid. Josh, Zach Martin, I'm saying, is as important as anybody else on that franchise that needs to show up for camp and to make sure we get him taken care of. Because, like I said, when you're 99 on Madden as a guard, that's kind of a big deal.
I agree completely. He's the best player on the team, especially relative to his position. And the key cog to the offense is the offensive line doing well, so it's important to have him there. And I read that, and it wasn't one of those things that scared me or bothered me, because that's a basic negotiation technique. He didn't even say he wasn't coming; he said he might not. So like he's opening the door to negotiate, and they might negotiate, they might not, and we'll see what happens.
But he's at that level of a quarterback in that when Zach Martin says something like that, even if it's in passing at swinging through McDonald's getting coffee, it's going to be a big deal because Zach Martin is so good. Zach Martin's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. So because that's been said, like you mentioned, kind of jump to conclusions that, this is going to happen. So hopefully Zach Martin gets all that figured out before they head out to Oxnard. But that's just some NFL news that happened this past week. DeAndre Hopkins, obviously the sale to the Commanders, and Zach Martin possibly not making it to beginning of training camp. Cannot talk about it. We may talk about it more as we're watching it here in studio, in the Fidelity Live studio. The Open is going on, the 151st British Open, however you want to call it, and it's being played at Royal Liverpool. After the first round yesterday, they had a Cristo, very hard to say last name, Lampatic. He is actually hadn't teed off yet, but what I love about the Open is, Josh, I woke up about 3 out of nowhere, turned on my iPad, started watching it, and golf is happening because it's 12:30, 1 o'clock in the afternoon there. And so the first round going, Tommy Fleetwood is at 5 under. Royal Liverpool, long time course. It's been having this Open for a long time. The first time that they ever had the Open there was in 1897. That's a long time ago. And so Tiger Woods has won there, Rory's won there. But again, Brian Harman, left-hander, is leading. He's out at 8 under through 15 in the second round. Max Homa, 4 under. Tommy Fleetwood grew up just right down the road. He is at 5 under along with Christian Christo Lamprecht. He's the 6'8" guy, Josh. If you have a chance to look it up, in the Open and a lot of courses over there, they have these pot bunkers that are very hard to get out of. He's got his leg in one and his other leg hanging out the side. And if he's not 6'8", that doesn't happen. The photo is hilarious. And he punches it out, finds a way. I think he ends up par in the hole. But I'm excited about the Open. Grant Cunningham was saying that he thought it was his second. It may be his favorite of the majors. But we'll keep you up to date on how the second round's going. Scotty Scheffler, Jordan Spieth had decent rounds yesterday. And so the Open is up and rolling. When we come back, again, that's our Lawrence Hall Headline Report. When we come back, the Texas Rangers come out of the All-Star break and get the Guardians, get the Rays, and the Dodgers are coming to town, and the trade deadline is on its way. And a lot of folks talk about, should Shohei be on the trading block? And as I mentioned earlier, is Shohei the trade that is very similar to a trade that if you look it up on Wikipedia, you'll find it. When we come back, our Texas Ranger report right after this. How loud is that in your ear when we go to commercial?
No, commercial wasn't terribly loud. It was louder than when you were talking. But.
Right, which it's going to go.
It didn't blow my eardrums. You go to Coasty last night?
I did.
How was it? Who was the headline? I'm going to look that up and I forgot.
The headline. welcome back to the Hodge Pack Sports Live and everything in between. As you hear, nothing but a good time playing. Last night I was at Potosi Live, and they announced the headliners for their Potosi Fest coming September 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. Thursday night will be Shane Smith and the Saints. Friday night, Randy Rogers. And Saturday night, Brett Michaels will be there. Do not want to miss for a good time there. Tickets go on sale tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. They'll unveil more of the acts, all those things. But 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, tickets go on sale. And again, we're glad that you're with us. And so tomorrow to go on sale. But today, the Rangers continue their run as they head into the weekend as the Dodgers come to town. And so they are coming into town. Rangers on a 6-game winning streak, coming out of the All-Star break, playing well, doing some good things. Again, tough break. Guardians at the time were in first place. The Tampa Bay Rays, obviously, very good in first place as well. And the Dodgers come into town, one of the top teams out in the NL West. And so, Josh, Rangers 6-game winning streak. Dodgers coming to town, playing some good baseball, doing some things well, winning close games, doing things that you want to see things happening well. And so it's been a good week as we come out of the All-Star break.
Very much so. Very much so. It's an exciting time to be a Rangers fan. It has been a good season so far, but we kind of went through a rough patch, which was something that every team goes through. It's just one of those things that it's how you come out of that helps. There was a lot of talk going into the All-Star break that they needed to rejuvenate and come back out, and they did so probably better than anyone even really in the realm of reality expected, because those two series and sweeping teams is difficult in baseball, even against bad teams, but against two teams that are division leaders at the time, and they got another division leader this weekend. But they won 6 in a row. But if they went 4-2 over those games, you consider it a success. So that is obviously something to be happy about.
Well, so the Rangers are doing well, and things are going good and exciting. And the Astros won last night, but starting to see a little bit of a gap there. But the big thing outside the Rangers as we continue our Major League Baseball look is the fact that August 1st is coming and the trade deadline, meaning opportunity to make decisions, who you're going to keep, who you're going to move. And I mentioned as we headed into the break that one of the biggest trades in the history of the NFL and probably of all sports that impacted a franchise that propelled a 1-15 team into a Super Bowl contender. In the grand scheme of things, Josh, relatively quickly.
Yeah.
If you think from 89 to 92, that's pretty quick on when you get a Super Bowl championship. And I mentioned the Herschel Walker trade. And when you look up Herschel Walker trade in Wikipedia, it gives you the details of all the things that ended up leading to this big trade that Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson were integral part in sending Herschel Walker to the Vikings, because the Vikings thought that Herschel Walker was the player they were away from being and bringing a Super Bowl championship to Minnesota. Josh, the most exciting player in baseball, even though it's not Aaron Judge, it is Shohei Ohtani. And Shohei Ohtani is going to be at the end of his rope, at the end of his contract at the end of this year. And that's the question is, do you Herschel Walker this thing? Can they, for them, Herschel Walker be Shohei? The people they get would be what Emmitt Smith was, what Larry Allen was, what Russell Maryland was, what Darren Woodson was for the Cowboys. Is this something, and who should be making that decision, and is it the Rangers?
Well, it's I think I mentioned to you that we needed to quit talking about this in the rundown because it truly is the most intriguing trade deadline story of my memory in baseball. I mean, there's been some big guys that have moved in the past, but typically trades don't involve the true cream of the crop superstars, and this is one of those situations that we have. Like you mentioned, the most exciting player in baseball this season. He's well on his way to a well-deserved MVP, it appears. And there's just a lot of stuff that goes into that. The evaluating a guy who can can slot in as a towards the top of your staff pitcher. I think overall his pitching is a bit overrated, just a bit. So no one freak out. He's very good, but I don't think he's true ace. He strikes out a lot of people, but there's some other numbers that aren't quite as good. But take that away.
Him as a batter and what he does there is probably like if it was a bar graph would be a little higher than
yes. He is a better hitter compared to his peers, I guess, than a pitcher. But he's very good at both, and so there's no doubt that you're adding a game changer on the pitching side and a game changer on the hitting side if you trade for Shohei Ohtani. And what makes it so intriguing to me is he has basically all but said he's not coming back to the Angels. He's been professional enough to not just air the dirty laundry, I guess, but he's made some comments that were construed to him not going back there, about wanting to win and things like that, which the Angels are, and as division rivals, it's one of those things that just kind of always you can think, well, at least we're not the Angels, where they have transcendent talent on their team and bring in free agents that they spend a lot of money on that at the time looks like, oh man, this could be good for the Angels. They're going to be good, and then just nothing seems to work out for them. And they have Trout has been injured a little bit lately and is not quite to the same super high standard that he is typically associated with. But you had Trout and Ohtani, both of them in their prime, and can't even make the playoffs,
right.
Which is ludicrous.
And somebody was trying to say that it takes a little bit more on a baseball squad to do
it does.
But also you would think that those two guys, and if you worked your system and did your things well, to add a few things to it. I mean, and I know it's different in basketball, but if you got Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, Steve Kerr, John Paxton, Horace Grant, if they do their job, it makes you a really good team. In the NFL, if you got Patrick Mahomes and you got Travis Kelce, and you've got at their time the first Super Bowl Tyreek Hill, and you sprinkle in just a random couple other pieces, you find a way to be successful. And so I feel like that's the same way. Now the MLB lineup came out and said the top 10 people that are the best need or fit that should look at Shohei in a trade situation. The Rays are number one, which kind of makes sense to me because if they can get Shohei and find a way to win, they don't care about. I say they don't care. They are the Rams of this year because they know Boston's always going to have more money. They know the Yankees are going to have more money. But if we can win one and be like our counterparts down in Florida and every once in a while win a World Series, then it's a big deal. So the Rays are number one. Number two are the Phillies. And the Rangers don't come into play until number 8 on that list.
And I guess that's depending on who you ask. I do think that it makes sense in some ways for any team that's a contender. Because, like I said, he's the guy that moves the needle on both sides of the ball, and that's obviously never happened before, So that makes it hard to judge, like where exactly he fits as far as like what you would trade and things like that. But there's pluses and minuses everywhere. Like you mentioned, the Rays, and the Rays need to take advantage of getting when they was good. But it's also so counterproductive to the Rays mentality where they build prospects and value their prospects, but never pay anybody just a whole lot of money to give them out of prospects away that you have to give away to get Shohei. So if they're gonna like push the chips on to go this year, I think that goes against their general mentality, which has been they make shrewd trades. They trade guys that are good, that are like Chris Archer, that was. He was a pitcher that was coming into his own, was a potential ace. They traded him. They brought in Tyler Glasnow and a couple other guys from the Pirates, and so they used their capital to get several other guys. And so I think that kind of but and you obviously could make the argument that he would make the Rangers better. He'd make any team better, and the Rangers do have the trade capital as far as people in the upper minor leagues that they could make that purchase. But then it just comes down to what is that worth? And that's the thing like I said, with the Rays cashing in, with the Rangers are building. The Rangers window is just opening, like now.
Well,
They
and
built the last few years. The window is opening.
And really, their draft, as you look, and again, I know it's harder when you look at the draft of Major League Baseball because William Bamba doesn't start playing Summer League for you right away and then plays in the first game like they do in the NBA. Bryce Young doesn't start quarterback in baseball. It doesn't start opening day like in football. So, but I do feel like they've done a good job. And do you think you can find a way to get through this, get past Otani decision, don't give the farm away, and find a way just to do what you feel like you could do? Because and I know we've only got a couple more minutes left, but there's not like there's a Georgia in football where you're playing for second. I don't see anybody that good in Major League Baseball that the Rangers can't be good enough to do something this year.
Well, but that leads you to how much trade capital do you want to give up? What are you willing to mortgage for the future in trading someone that could be somebody that was good for your team for several years to try to win right now? And that's that balance that you have to try to strike. What makes it so interesting to me on the Angels side is there is no reason not to trade him other than public relations. Like they
trade him or trade for him.
No. If you're the Angels, to trade him away, they're not going to win this year. They're most likely not going to re-sign him. It seems that the writing's on the wall. They probably have a better idea of that than we do, but it seems like the writing's on the wall. He's not re-signing there. I think it is borderline, sabotage of your team to not trade him. To not bring in 4 or 5 prospects that could be because the whole problem around the Shohei and the Angels is they don't have any supporting cast. Like you mentioned, the Horace Grants of the world. All they need is some league average players around Shohei and Trout, and they're good. And they can't even do that.
You think about the Rangers, what they're getting from a long-haired guy that just got picked up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
He's contributing. And so it'll be interesting. We'll have one more show before the trade deadline. August 1st is that trade deadline. So we'll have next week's show, and then we'll learn more about what the Rangers and everybody's doing in Major League Baseball as the trade deadline. Again, the Dodgers are coming to town tonight for a 3-game series in Arlington. Oh, another big announcement. The All-Star game next year will be in Arlington. When we come back on our Pest Patrol phone line, Jason Fitz. We'll talk college football, NFL, a little bit of fiddle, and everything in between right after this. Hey, Jason, can you hear me? Jason, can you hear me? Jason? Jason, can you hear me now? Oh, perfect. How's it going this morning? I'm good, man. I can't tell you how cool this is that you agreed to do this. Based on Twitter, how much I tweet you all the time, you know how much of a fan I am. So I appreciate you doing this morning. And so I've also got my co-host Josh. He kind of looks like Gojo a little bit. He's got the same no hair and beard. So so a little bit, yes, very much so. But no, I thought if you're cool, we'll talk. Um, I'll go ahead and tell you. I'm going to ask you. So I got to actually see y'all on a cruise ship when you were playing with the band Perry. It's been some time, but I'm going to ask you like, what your favorite song was to perform live and all those fun stuff, and then just talk some football and kind of go from there. And like I said, look forward to seeing wherever you go next. I've enjoyed the stuff that you had with Gojo the other day. It was pretty cool. So, all right, we're about to come back on our last commercial and be ready to roll. Yeah, we're there. We're coming back from commercial right now. Yeah. Welcome back to the Hodge Pack, Sports Life and everything in between. As you hear us coming back, jamming out to the song "Done" for the band Perry, who one of the best groups of all time. We're glad that you're with us on the Hodge Pack, Sports Life and everything in between. Joining us on our Pest Patrol phone line. This is one that I've been excited about to have on the show. But joining us again, played fiddle for the band Perry, one of the most talented people of all time in sports, music, you name it. But joining us on our Pest Patrol phone line, Jason Fitz. Jason, I appreciate you taking the time this morning. And so, Jason, again, of course, you've heard him on ESPN, and so I just want to say, based on the outpouring of support, I know a couple weeks ago was not fun for the network, but the support that I've always thought everything that you ever brought to, whether it's the social media, TV, radio, college game day, was always some of the best stuff. And can't wait to see where you land next because I know whatever network or platform they're going to be fortunate to have. Well, and I know it is, and I've got a couple of questions outside of sports. Well, one is kind of with sports, but so the Golic people. I mean, you're how fun are the Golics? Are they as we've had Mike Senior on the show? Of course, when Gojo films his show, it's kind of hard to get him on. Are the Golics as genuine as we see? Well, and then my other non-sports question is, as a guy that loves music and all, and from our station actually, Jason, we play 80s, 90s, and Texas country, and so they let me do sports on 2 hours a day on Friday. So, what was your favorite song to perform live when you were in the band Perry?
And it's funny because we did, I'll never forget the PMA Awards. We went out for, we worked with a cleaners team that wanted to make a TV performance with just a backward shot of watching the song done. The first time we did it on TV was the first time we all walked up into a straight line and started jumping up and down there in the fiddle, which is incredibly hard. Like, it took me a lot of hours of practicing to figure out how to play the fiddle from home, jumping up and down. And so that was such a cool moment. But my heart broke right after the performance because I walked through backstage and Kimberly, the lead singer, said, "Man, I feel so good every night." From then on, every night we waked up whenever it was in the set, we all jumped up and down backstage. I jumped up and down, and that's so hard to do. But there were times that I would go back to the recordings the next day and say, "Hey, I'm pretty good. I'm jumping up and down." And then there were times I would look back and be like, "Oh my God, I'm jumping up and down. What are you doing?" So, there's always a practice, but that one was just. It was always electric. It was always incredible. So it was really good all for it. So that was by far my favorite.
It's funny because I don't know if you could hear it through the phone. That's actually what we came back to from commercial was done. So that's perfect. So let's talk sports again. Josh and I last week we talked about running backs, and you mentioned it a little bit on your social platforms. Again, you can follow him on Instagram and Twitter and everywhere that you can find Jason Fitz. But are the and to kind of not be too punny, but are the running backs kind of like the diamond from an old promise ring? Is that where we're looking at as the running backs right now?
And yeah, the funny thing is, not only running back is a bad spot, but as I said on social media, there really isn't a solution. Like, and I've heard a lot of people say, well, the league just needs to do this, the players just need to do that. But if there's anything I've learned about gravity, yes, the collective bargaining agreement that the NFL Players Association votes on is always willing to vote whatever benefits the majority of the players. The simple math tells you there's about 2,000 players in the NFLPA. The reason we break that never goes away is because all 32 others that are just classified, they are going to be now passionate about it. Only 32 out of 2,000 players are classified. So, like, when you go to the negotiating table and they say, well, if you want that, then you have to give them this. Most players won't give up anything to protect the franchise tag because it never impacts them. Same thing with running backs. That's one position group that even if your favorite team has 4 running backs on their roster, put them in. Even if every team did, that's 120 players compared to 2,000. Are 2,000 players going to take less on some years? Are they going to take an 18th game? Are they going to take no free health care? Are they going to do all of those different things to help running backs? No. So, even the answer to some of that they set out to form their own unit would require an entire renegotiation of the CBA. So I think, unfortunately, a lot of people are saying, well, here's the solution. And I'm sitting back and saying, hey, what's the actual math that gets to that solution? I think the running back position is never going to be paid fairly in this section of the NFL. And the real problem is going to be in 10 years when nobody's playing running back. Because if I had a kid right now that was a football player, I would make him a tight end or wide receiver. I would not let him play running back. There's no money.
Well, and my other question, and RG tweeted out this past week and did a video about, there's 7 years left on this CBA, and should the running back strike and try to, renegotiate and all that thing. I don't think there's you probably know more about this. Is there a way to even redo that before the 7 years is up?
Yeah, so if they did, there's a motion they could file that will allow us to go back to the negotiating table. But if you do that, there's a couple of huge triggers in it, and I believe the owners have rights. Some won't call it that conversation. Whichever side calls it back to the table, the other side will be the one that gets the benefit. So, but again, even if the owners, I think this is that reality. If every running back today turned around and said, we're not going to play, do you really think that would stop week one from happening? No. But A, the league is going to believe that the union will help them
Well, and you are similar as us Cowboys fans. One of the running backs that we didn't re-sign is Zeke Elliott. One of the guys that y'all have franchise tagged with your beloved Raiders is Josh Jacobs, the leading rusher from last year. What do you think the Raiders are going to do? And will Josh Jacobs be playing for the Raiders, or is he going to sit out? What do you think he'll end up doing?
I think he's going to end up playing because, again, players that don't sign their franchise tag or even the know, they're not technically in the contract. So they don't get fined if they miss practices. They don't get fined if they miss preseason games. But the way the NFL works their checks, if you make $10 million a year, the running back free industry, or the running back franchise tag, that $10 million is broken into 17 weekly checks. So every week that you miss a game, you just won 17 to $10 million. That's a lot of money, and I know Justice has been very clear on social media that he says, well, there's money he doesn't really have to work, so maybe he takes it, but I think it's pretty hard to believe he's coming to a step out and stand out. And if they do, if he's not trying to show up here, well, the Raiders would still be running next week, so he has to come in by week 10. So I think he's going to come in. But the other thing that I was letting remind everybody, last year, the Raiders had John Davis lead the league in UTEP in NFL in the NFL in rushing. The outside Devontae Adams, who was one of the best wide receivers in the NFL last year, and they have Max Crosby, who was one of the best pass rushers in the NFL last year, and they won 6 games. So if you're the Raiders, you have to realize this is the never left start. It's about roster depth. For every single team, it's about roster depth. It's not that you have, and to win in today's NFL, you got to have a quarterback that is playing like one of the best in the NFL, and you got to have a deep roster that manages willing to stay healthy. That's the real equation. So you're going to have the best wide receiver, you're going to have the best running back in the league. That's not going to get you to the Super Bowl if you look at the way the Super Bowl's gone in the last 7 years.
Well, and then my other question about the NFL, and before we get to college, is Marshawn Lynch going to be the last NFL Hall of Fame running back? Because if you don't stay on a team very long and you don't get to play, can you rack up enough notoriety, records, yards to be a Hall of Famer?
No, he would be the last Hall of Famer that's a pure runner. I think Christian McCaffrey is the model that most new running backs are going to take. Where there was an argument a few years ago, I forget which player, I know Julio Maximus did it too, where when they were looking at the franchise tag, they were actually reclassified at a different position because they played multiple positions defensively. I think we're in Christian McCaffrey era with the running back. You better be not only your team's leading rusher, but also your team's leading receiver to make that worthwhile. That being said, they want to drop Davis, worked on a lot of that last year, maybe it's great. But I think the key to being a Hall of Famer in the running back position is going to be to do things people have never seen. So Christian McCaffrey takes the 49ers, continues that huge success because of the young. I mean, he's getting paid. If you put up huge yardage, then I think he has a shot. And that's really the model for running back moving forward.
Yeah, and you're probably right. The traditional running back like Marshawn Lynch is probably going to go away. And like you said, everybody's going to try to be the tight end that could run for passes and not just block anymore. So George Strait has gone on a number of farewell tours, and seems like he's still farewelling. We've got 2 teams in the Big 12 that are going to be on a farewell tour this year. What do you think it's going to be like for Texas and OU making their last stops before they head to the SEC?
I think the most other talk about staying in college football right now is the absolute amount of pressure on Texas and Oklahoma specifically because of next year. And look, I mean, Oklahoma and Rick Venable is somebody that we all know is one of, if not the best coordinator of all time. And how much patience does Oklahoma already show? Because if you don't have a quarterback, and I know they're going to argue that, Gabriel people are coming from the year 2, everybody argues that, but Oklahoma is a good enough quarterback position as a long version to be that, right? So I think there's a ton of pressure on them because if you can't win in the Big 12,
Jason, I completely agree with you, and I mentioned this last week when we kind of talked about the same situation, that if Texas and Oklahoma go in down into the SEC and just become a doormat instantly, it could take decades to turn that around. So I agree that pressure is definitely there for them, because it would be bad to just change conferences to be a
Well, and I think it's very similar to new high school and the new students coming in. If they don't play well, they're going to be the ones that are, I'm not calling them screech from Saved by the Bell, but it's going to be pretty similar. They're walking in, and if they can walk in with a ring, at least they can show, hey, we won the Big 12 championship. Here you go, A&M. We're still got something you don't have. But Kentucky. I mean, what Stoops has done at Kentucky, they've gotten better. So the SEC is not as much top heavy as I think people are. You've got some teams scattered out. I think South Carolina is going to be better this year with Beamer. I think they're going to continue to improve. And so you start adding Texas and OU to this conference. I agree, because I think Texas Tech's going to be better. And I just think it's going to be very interesting to see. I called it the Houston Astros trash can tour of what Texas and OU are going to be when they come on the road to familiar Big 12 places. Of the fan, it's already terrible when they get it anyway. But I think it's going to be worse this year as this season comes to.
You're 1,000% right. And, you mentioned the celebrity battle. You think Lane Kiffin is going to sit around and put chops at the kids to show Clark who he is and that he goes now? I mean, I think that's real. And so for a school like Texas and a school like Oklahoma, you're right. They're going to get so much visual this year going around the Big 12. And then every one of these SEC coaches is going to sit there and tell their kids their guys on Saturday morning before they play that game next year. It's going to be, hey, we're going to show them what the SEC is all about, right? Like, you can hear this in your brain, but it means if you're walking in the Big 12 championship race, if you're walking in the playoffs here, those sorts of things, which are the same big right for Oklahoma and Texas, and they win the Big 12, they're going to be in that conversation. You walk in coming off the playoff here, now you're inside your fan base says, okay, let's look, we're transitioning here, but this is going to be just fine. If you walk in, if you listen, I should say, 3 or 4 losses, then you're done. I mean, that's totally good. The next play by the coaches is going to be immediate. And y'all, I don't think there are two programs that will be helped more by college football than Oklahoma and Texas, because you've got to hope right now when everything expands that you can find yourself into that conversation, because you're in the SEC. If you are a brand like Texas, if you are a brand like Oklahoma, because of who you can put on the field, you got to hope that expansion lets you get into that run earlier. Because I think winning the SEC, being your only path to the playoffs, is just going to be tough for a ton of teams for the next several years.
I agree. Jason, man, I could talk to you for days. Maybe we can have you back on. But I appreciate you taking the time this morning. Look forward to whenever you get to make the announcement of where you're going next. And I'll be following on Twitter and watching and following your career as I've done. And so I appreciate you taking the time this morning. That's Jason Fitz. When we come back, we've got Misty in the house. We'll be back.
welcome to the stage.
Miss Cinnamon. Remember, it's Miss Cinnamon, y'all.
Man,
up onto the.
Especially if you fall over backwards.
Then I would really look like Barbie. So
Oh gosh, I know.
I am really bummed about. I wanted to go see it.
Well, you can't just don't say Colin.
I know, but
No, I don't like giving money to the people that want to push that.
I know that's not my opinion.
Speaker sounds terrible.
But yeah, I just love pink. Pink is my favorite color.
It's so loud in here.
Yeah, it is loud.
Like the buzzing, the fans.
Yeah.
Like,
It's a lot. Yeah, we gotta get the air under control.
well, when I walked in downstairs, it was cool in the lobby, and all those portable airs were gone. I was like, oh, that kid's air conditioner. And I got off here, and I was like, nope.
But it's weird on how it stays cool in here, but it's like in heaven.
That thing's pumping cold air at 64 degrees.
Well, it's 73 in there. The thermostat that I
Yeah.
guess maybe controls
Can we
both.
move in there? Can we move our
It's quieter
studio?
in there, too.
Can we? I know it is. You can actually hear what we're talking about. Yeah. Can we move next door?
Let's come up with a on the road segment.
I have not heard anything. Cindy discussed that the 16th would not be a good day. Yes.
It was unbearably hot.
Welcome back to the Hodge Pack, Sports Life, and everything in between. Glad that you're with us this morning. Appreciate Jason Fitz joining us. If you missed part of that conversation, you can don't forget to download, subscribe, rate, and review the Hodge Pack podcast. It'll be up on and available on Apple or Spotify either sometime later today or over the weekend. So you'll get that. Listen to it. Again, Jason, looking forward to see where he lands next with his career. We do have Josh, Hodge, and Barbie in here with the pink dress.
Come on, Barbie. Let's go party.
Well, there you
Can
go.
y'all finish the lyrics? Thank you, Joshua.
Good
Thank
job.
you.
Glad we have closed
We'll
caption.
be here all day. That's awesome.
So
Closed
speaking
caption
of
for the
party,
hearing impaired?
well, there you go.
We do have closed captions?
Whatever,
I
Someone
do.
you're
captioned
welcome.
Good morning, Dad. Good morning, Randy Burson on our
Lyrical genius.
Yeah. So speaking of party, I have an opportunity tomorrow to go help a big cause. That actually will tie back into our Big Country Electric My Town segment because those folks are going to know who we're talking about. But we have a chance tomorrow for D-Nice. Party at Mulligan's tomorrow, helping raise some money, which for those they know Winky is the football, basketball official. But tomorrow at Mulligan's, there's a golf tournament at 10. There's cornhole, I believe. There'll be an auction tomorrow night. I'm actually going to be emceeing that. So head out to Mulligan's tomorrow, help raise some money for a great cause. Cancer sucks, and everything that goes with it. So be sure you can head out tomorrow. It'll be a great day. The Open will probably be on TV somewhere, so you can watch the Open, raise some money, do all the things tomorrow. And the other part about it is that the tournament will be over. You can just enjoy and not have to worry about missing the Open. So be sure you head over tomorrow to Mulligan's. So did you just? So Tracy had this issue last night. She wore something pink again. We went to Potosi Live last night. They revealed their headliners for Potosi Fest. Tickets go on sale tomorrow at 10 a.m. She wore something pink, and multiple people asked her if she went and saw the Barbie movie. And Tracy was like, "No,
I just like pink.
I just like pink." So, are you
It
going
is Barbie week.
to? Are you? It is Barbie.
It is Barbie week.
And you don't get any pinker than that.
You don't. I mean, I'm basically a highlighter, but I'm here for it.
Oh, we're not.
Right.
We're not dissonant. I mean, now if you'd have come in bleached blonde hair, we would have had some questions.
I don't know.
Because-
It's pretty-
Sunglasses when she walked in the door. There's a
pretty bright
glare
out
on
Well,
the window.
but I mean,
I
if you would have come in like Barbie, we'd have had to make you Ken.
don't know. Ken's not fat and bald.
There's got to be
Oh my gosh.
there's got to be that
I
Ken.
need to start a lobby for
You
that.
start- you
You
start-
know, like,
If the
The
dad,
dad bod is in.
If
the body positivity needs to flow on over.
if the
like,
dad bod can take off, why cannot whatever that body is?
I don't know.
He can.
That's just,
All right, we're gonna come out with the Josh doll. And
How
you'll
do
be
we
good.
categorize Josh's body?
that's really a segment for another
Yeah.
time.
That's knowing is half the battle.
Yeah.
Knowing is half the battle is to change the subject because that's what we want to hear. Oh, that's fun stuff. So Missy's very bright, but you're not. This is just a fake, not Barbie material.
I mean, it might have crossed my mind to bust out some pink today.
Do you have a closing for Barbie's house today?
Yes, I do. It's actually, I'm actually closing on Barbie's house.
I don't know. I just had Josh point. Did something happen on the open?
I don't know what is going on.
So
right
we got a big studio.
We're derailing.
Well, no, we're
now.
fine.
You can't run TVs in my viewing area.
Yeah, and you blame me for texts that come to me. So anyway, hey, real quick, we're going to pause for station identification because we do not want to miss what's coming up next. All right, Misty. So I'm sure. All right, for the record, what if we learned anything? Let's do this. It is time
What are we
for.
supposed to learn?
If we learned anything about Mulligan's Misty's bag last week, is don't ask questions about spouses.
I know Ryan is
Ryan won't
he's
do it.
so funny.
No,
Like,
Hodge is.
I'm telling you.
There's no sense. First of all,
It's funny. We're all married.
it
We
is
have
funny,
to
but there's
talk
certain
about our
things you don't
spouses.
want documented
Oh
for
my
life
God.
on a podcast, which you can download,
Hodge's
subscribe,
list
rate,
is
and review.
longer than others. on what he doesn't
Apparently.
want documented.
Or he's scared. I said this last
Oh,
week.
yeah.
He is scared of Tracy.
That there's and, all right, Misty, go.
He's gonna stop talking.
See, he can't even. Okay, take out the NFL quarterback. In your opinion, what is the hardest position in sports?
In sports, and you think
Sports.
the
The
NFL
NFL quarterback is high.
All
on
right, it's
the
high.
list.
I want to ask, why do you think that? And which is good because this is the first time in a while we've had our Big Country Electric My Town segment after
Uh-huh.
Misty's bag. So Phil and Katie get to answer this question too. So go ahead, since you have a chance, you should answer this question. Why do you think the NFL quarterback? Do you think the NFL quarterback's the hardest position?
I think it's one of the hardest positions. I mean, you take the mental game, obviously the physicality is there as well. So I think you can really break down this question multiple ways, which is why I've asked y'all, and now you're throwing it back on me.
No, I was just
But
asking.
if you Google this,
Okay.
the NFL quarterback will be in the top 3 or 4 of every report out there.
I could see that because.
So I don't want y'all to say that as an answer because I figured
Oh, I don't think that is.
y'all would, one of y'all would say
I
that
could
that's
play
up
quarterback
there.
in the NFL. With the right,
Oh my gosh.
with the right line, I could play
Ooh, I
quarterback
need
in the
some
NFL.
boots.
If you
It's
just-
getting deep,
He
y'all.
needs the right line and Emmitt Smith. You just turn
Yes.
around and hand off the ball.
Yes.
All right, so Josh,
What are you doing on 3rd and 12? We're handing off.
we're running fake punt with a punter.
Oh man.
I think the hardest position in sports. Well, one of the toughest would be sitting on a bull. Being a bull rider would be pretty difficult because you have no idea what's going to happen in less than 8 seconds. I'm pretty sure mine would be kept in less than 8 seconds. I think any sport, any position in basketball, I don't think it's tough. I mean, it's hard, but I don't think it's the most tough. One of the toughest positions. I think one of the toughest, and I'll stay in football, even though I'm going to give 2 for golf in a minute, the kicker. And the reason I say the kicker's pretty tough is you want to talk about what have you done for me lately in any form or fashion.
Oh, yeah, you can miss one field
Oh,
goal.
you're
You
a
could be
hero or a
unemployed
hero.
in a moment.
Yeah.
Now, ask Scott Norwood.
I was going to say Norwood, like,
He had a movie made about him, Laces Out Dan, and I don't know where he's at, if he's in like a compound somewhere making like wood chips or something, I don't know. But I think,
chips.
I don't know, that's what I came up with. I do think being a place kicker in the NFL, as far as mental, as far as even though there's probably you're not doing the cross the bow hitting drills in practice, what comes with being a kicker in the NFL, I think would be one of the toughest. My other one would be golfer. And the reason I say golfer is your money, even though you do get some money from maybe some sponsorships and stuff like that, the majority of your money comes if you make the cut on 2 days. If you don't make the cut in 2 days, you don't get paid.
I don't know. Sorry. This is derailing.
No, just you keep talking. You're fine. What is your next one?
Well, I really know because I was trying to think about that, because like you said, is it like the physical ability is so difficult, or the mental ability? Like Hodge obviously went with mental because the kicker, I think, and along with that, like the closer for a baseball team comes in always when it's like the game's on the line, and you have to do your thing that you can do it but suddenly it's like there's a whole lot of pressure.
I think you're right. I think the closer is tough because if you've got a 2-run lead and even a 1-run lead, and you go on a stretch and blow 4 saves in a row, it's the equivalent.
You will lose your job.
It's the equivalent of missing 3 game-winning field goals or game-winning extra points or whatever. You're eventually going to be unemployed. Now, the benefit of both of those, if you've shown any success previously, you get another chance as kickers.
But because I was thinking about that, the kicker situation, and that is very equivalent to the reliever in baseball, and the closer is, I guess, the highest leverage reliever. But in any position, as a bullpen pitcher, that if guy walks somebody, next guy gets a base hit, you come in with no outs and a runner on first and third, and if that runner from third scores, you get a lot of that angst, and you could have what would be otherwise a good inning, where you give up a fly ball to the outfield, that runner scores from third base, and then you get the next 2 guys out, and you just blew a save. So I mean that's kind of that's a very high pressure situation that would be difficult to calm your nerves and get that done.
Well, and we had this a few weeks ago when we had the most difficult sports, and tennis was higher than certain teams, and it was weird on where they labeled and listed the difficulty stuff. But when you start thinking about difficult positions, or I guess that's it, or jobs in sports, I go back to golf in the caddy, because how many times do you see if a guy doesn't do well, and I'm relying on if I'm Misty's caddy, and I give her what I think is right and all those things, and she doesn't execute, I'm like the coach that gets canned, because you can't can the player. The player's not going anywhere. You're not going to can the quarterback. It's going to be the coach's fault. And so you start seeing these things. And so I think caddy and golf are 2 of the toughest. And I go again with my other answer is the place kicker in the NFL.
But I was trying to think about what I think would be the most physically difficult.
Yeah, because again, you can really break this down.
And that's
2
because
ways.
the quarterback, I think, is the mental part.
Right.
And I've been kind of going through what I thought was just physical difficulty. And I'm really having a hard time coming up with one that I would feel really strongly
what about a rugby
about.
player?
Rugby, which there's a fence by
I
our
could
house.
not play rugby.
I've got to reach out to these people. There's a fence down from our house, and there's these 2 banners that they're recruiting for Texas rugby, like West Texas rugby or something like that. And it's like men, women, and kids rugby. Children. I hope they're not all on the same team. I do know one of the answers we're going to get maybe in our next segment from the people that may be a very tough position, but it's a very rewarding position, an opportunity for you to be a part of that here in a minute. So, Misty, what do you think or do you have an answer for the physical?
I'm just trying to just think.
I mean, I go bull riding or anything in rodeo.
Yeah, I think rugby is the physicality, but also I have mad respect for a catcher, an MLB catcher. Just having to be down in all the heat, and there's just no way I could
getting hit with multiple balls. And
you know who I feel bad for, and they may change it. I feel bad for the travel team catcher that plays 400 games on a weekend and never subs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and that happens all the time. That's happened on our softball team for these 10-year-old girls, and it's brutal.
Well, because
but they can do it.
And that's a whole nother segment, honestly. Catcher is a different breed. I mean, the catcher is that hard-nosed, don't mind taking a ball off the chin or whatever it may be. It's a tough position. And there's always people lined up to pitch. There's always people lined up to play shortstop. That line for catcher is not very long. So
that's probably, I would say that's my final answer. I'm going to go with a major league catcher.
The bullpen catcher is probably not a bad gig.
That long.
Unless you're catching 103 on your hand. But so, all right. So there you go. Again, Misty's bag, brought to you by Mulligan's. Again, tomorrow, great opportunity. Always a great opportunity to go catch some steak fingers, amazing food. But tomorrow, big fundraiser day for D-Nice to help raise some money, again, some cancer stuff. So it'll be a lot of fun. Come hang out with us. I'll be there. Again, I'll be emceeing and auctioneering and asking you to go too. Over there. So be sure
I
to get
was
there.
just actually thinking like, Hodge kind of looks like an auctioneer, but slow anyway. So but
I'm
that
going
makes sense.
just to watch Hodge.
Hey, if you just want to watch Hodge, head over to Mulligan's tomorrow. When we come back, it's time for our Big Country Electric My Town segment. And we're going to give them a chance to answer Misty's question and give you a chance to learn how you can not only help yourself. We'll be back right after this.
See, I had to go on an easy one because last week was
Yeah, I don't-
spouse.
Yeah.
Hey, don't forget the center. The football.
Hey, you're going to get a chance to answer that.
Yeah, I mean,
The center
corner.
is kind of like the catcher. The center has to know everything.
Yeah.
He's got to know everything the quarterback.
No, I really like this question because I do feel like depending on the way what is hard to you, it's not hard to me. To me, there's no way I could ever play country. No way I cannot be on money all day long. No, there's just no way. And then have to like move really quick, you know, and take a beating from somebody sliding home. Like I just
Yeah, you got to be. Yeah, you got to block it.
and throwing
Eight
them
or
out.
80.
Hey,
Okay.
throwing out. I mean, you have to know. I mean, you're seeing the entire field. Like it's
And you have to be aware of like someone stealing and like to catch the ball and then have the wherewithal to like stand up and not failing.
physically, well, and mentally, but obviously more physical to me. Like, there's no way. But yeah,
Vacation.
it was good. Yeah, it was good.
So I've been to Kiwanis with Brad, and I saw Chris.
Want to hear these?
A lot. And his dad is a veteran, so we have to do that. So that's great. So yeah, we just He wanted to go to Tech, but
People want to go to
believe it or not, I know. So
I thought that was like a punishment. You learn something every day.
that's hilarious.
Welcome back to the Hodge Pack Sports Live and everything in between. We're glad that you're with us this morning. As that you hear, those are some fun takes of NFL referees explaining their calls, explaining their business. They're given the business, if you remember, was actually on Madden for a lot of if you tackled somebody. We used to, when we were playing with buddies, it was like, okay, if you rough the passer or hit a late hit, and they say that if Madden said he's giving you the business, you had to decline the penalty because it was funny. So anyway, we're glad that you're back with us for hour number 2 for the Hodge Pack. It is time for our Big Country Electric My Town segment, brought to you by Big Country Electric Cooperative, brought to you by them who take care of their members each and every day. 3 amazing offices, Roby, Snyder, and Stanford. Again, they do such a great job. I appreciate them so much. We highlight the local player coacher program, and today we're highlighting an organization, a program that not only needs your help, but also just an opportunity for you. And so joining us in our Potosi Live studio this morning, we have Phil Hill and Katie Gore joining us from the – all right, so what's the official title? You'll have to share. Feel free to talk into it. The official name of the organization.
So we're just the Abilene Football Ref. We're the Abilene chapter of the Tasso Football Ref.
Okay, and so Phil and Katie are here, and so unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, we have a lot of times our Big Country Electric My Town segment follows Misty's bag, and so Misty, ask your question to Phil and Katie.
Okay, so taking out the NFL quarterback, in your opinion, what is the hardest position for us?
I agree with it being the kicker because it is. I mean, how many times as the Dallas Cowboys kicker knows when you miss 4 and you're like, that's your only job, man. Like, so I definitely agree that the kicker is the highest intensity and also seemingly the easiest because it's like shooting a 3-point in football, and so I agree with that.
I'm going to go with the center, just because it's on. There is you're never the hero, but you have to know everything that everybody else is doing on the field. So you're basically you have to have the knowledge of the quarterback because you don't have the arm strength, and you have to direct.
You're considered the quarterback in the line anyway, and knowing how you got to pick up that guy because if we don't block that guy, he's going to get the guy behind us. So, and another tough position. And the reason we see this in every organization, whether it's officiating football, basketball, baseball, tiddlywinks, or anything, is the official. And so Phil mentioned that they are here with the Big Country chapter of the Football Tasso Association. And so just want to talk a little bit of background. First of all, how long you've done it. And Katie, you've got a connection, kind of like a legacy of it. But Phil, talk about how long you've been officiating. And a lot of folks, they officiate multiple sports. But how long have you been officiating football?
I've been in the chapters. And so Katie's just a little longer than me. And like I said, she's a legacy. I'll let her touch on that. But my biggest regret on 7 years is I didn't start sooner. I wish I would have. And a lot of men in that room, a lot of people in that room will tell you, man, I wish I'd have started this sooner.
Do you do anything other? Do you officiate anything else?
Not yet. I have done baseball. It looks like I'm going to make a return trip to baseball this spring.
Katie, a little bit, just your thoughts on how long you've been doing it, and talk a little bit about maybe why you got into it, and we'll talk more about kind of what we're seeing in females in officiating.
So I've been officiating since 2016. And I got into it. Is that a word for my dad? Yeah, okay. My dad, Brett McCracken, has been officiating since I probably was a freshman in high school. And so that's kind of what started me, considering being a football official. I moved back to Abilene, got married in the fall of 2015, so that was obviously the priority then. And then in 16, I was like, can women do this? And Dad was, as always, really supportive.
So talk a little bit about what your dad has done. Your dad has some NFL responsibilities every now and then. Talk a little bit about that.
So Dad and I sometimes, but Dad has been really fortunate to work with CBS. And so anytime sometimes we even get called to games outside the state of Texas, but anytime there's a game, Dad has gotten to do anything from being in the booth with the announcers, from being like the trailer doing first down lines, stats, everything, to I think last year he got to do the little commercial red hand, on the side of the field.
When we're coming back,
Yes, and so that was really, really good.
So one of the things I talk about again. We mentioned it, and it's been out there. I officiate basketball, but the whole thing that we've seen is restaurants and all these people with shortages, but no different than happening in officiating. Part of it is officiating. What would you tell you what? I'm going to totally change it. Yes, there is a shortage, but I don't want to look at that as why there's a shortage. You know why there's a shortage. What I want to talk about is the opportunities that are there to officiate and the network that you get. I'm still adjusting as a coach for 10 years, adjusting to being the guy on the other side. And so, Phil, talk a little bit about the network and the benefits, because you regret not starting 7 years sooner. You regret not starting sooner. Talk about that.
Well, okay, as far as the networking, the room is diversified. We have a realtor, we have an attorney, we have a teacher, we have a cotton farmer. It's just a group of good people that enjoy the sport. It's another family. You were talking about the benefit of mulligans. Well, that's a referee's wife, and I guarantee you there'll be 20 referees at this event tomorrow, and we're there because that's part of our family. When I do need, not that I've ever been in trouble with the law, but when I do need an attorney, I go see Katie. She has helped me with all my legacy stuff. Like I said, it's like having a second family. After the games on Friday, there's a lot of us that meet up and we get a private room and have a meal together and make fun of each other and talk about what we went through that night.
Right. So, Katie, what do you enjoy most about it besides doing what your dad did and being involved? And we've seen women get involved in officiating from double. We've seen in the NFL the ladies that are doing it today that are involved. What do you enjoy about officiating?
I 100% echo Phil that it's a family, and especially in the fall season, sometimes I do spend more time with my football family than my husband and my daughter, and so it's the camaraderie. You have people have your back. Whether I had to text a group of guys one time and I said I need help moving, and they showed up, no questions asked. So whether it's kind of the personal ask or it's the hey, I'm having a really hard time on the field with I don't know that call, or and you just know they have your back out there too. We are a team out on the field. I think everybody thinks of the football team, but we as officials are a team as well. We have each other's back out there, and sometimes in situations where the anxiety is high, the tension is high, it's nice to know, hey, I have 4 or 6, whatever other people on this field who have my back.
Well, and I think the other thing is you look and see the importance of, and we're going to start moving toward that recruitment part of why Katie are here. You're real crucial, and basketball officials are the same. If you don't have officials to send to junior high game, a J game, or honestly to a varsity game that the chapter's covering, then that game cannot happen. And so it's very important. And you think, well, I don't know a whole lot or whatever. It's okay. They're going to teach you. Yes, I came into out of coaching to basketball officiating with the background of the sport and understanding that. But you're going to learn and be able to learn how to officiate. And so it's an important thing. So Phil, talk about how do people get involved? Obviously, 2-a-days start soon. Literally, it's right around the corner. Talk about how people can get involved and the benefits maybe from your schedule to, and honestly, let's face it, the money part of being involved as a football official.
Well, the money I'm not going to say it's unlimited, but you can make pretty decent money with minimal hours. It's just up to you. If you have the time, you could work one night a week and make, I'm talking per hours, and make $150, $175. That's a pretty good hourly rate. As far as getting into it, so we've already, what a lot of people don't understand, you said it, 2-a-day start in a week or two. We've already started. We meet every Tuesday night Our first-year guys have already started classes. We'll continue that every Tuesday night through the regular season. So it's from now to November. We meet at 5:45 at the Patty Hanks School of Nursing. It's at 2149 Hickory. And if you'll go to the back door, we'll let you in. The door should be unlocked. If it's not, just knock on it. Next Saturday, the 5th, we will be having our annual clinic. And this is something everybody has to do, from the first-year guy to the 35-year guy. We all have to do a clinic every year. And first-year guys are free. Everybody that's coming back has to pay, but it's free to you. And we at the Cooper High School Library from 8 until 3 o'clock, Saturday the 5th. Just show up, and we'll get you started. We'll get you where you need to go. Some of the benefits being a first-year official is you don't pay local dues your first year, or you don't have to pay for the clinic. You will have to pay for the state dues. That's just everybody. It's minimal. I want to say
Somewhere in there.
Yeah, $65. There is an initial investment also on your uniforms and equipment. You got to have the whistle, you got to have a flag, but you'll make all that back in the first week. So it's a very minimal investment, and that stuff you can carry with you from year to year. And I promise, once you get out there and start doing it,
you're going to enjoy it. And I was the same. You're going to say, well, people yell at you and all that stuff. The good thing about football, you got a little distance. You got distance. The other thing is, if money's an issue or whatever, maybe uniforms, there's probably somebody in the chapter your size that could get you going and wear one of their uniforms or whatever, if that's the case.
absolutely.
So, Katie, I've got a question. So, just in a kind of a male-dominated field, how is it being a woman? Like, I'm obviously into sports, have been entire life, but that would make me nervous as somebody who I would say is pretty knowledgeable, especially about football. Like, doing that and being out, and we know the negative sides of officiating. Oh my gosh, sorry, I can't talk. Between the parents and players and just everybody, we all know all of the stories. So, just how is it really being a woman out there? When you started, I mean, were you nervous? Did the guys just kind of take you under their?
Yes, all of the above. So I was fortunate because I knew a lot of the guys in the chapter. They were at my wedding the year before, and so I was really fortunate with that. But so as Phil mentioned, we have the rookie meeting, and then we have, so I call it Sunday school and big church. So then we have a rookie meeting and chapter meeting. And so, I walked into the chapter meeting, and there's 100 guys in there. And even though I know most of them, it's still just like, okay, all right, this is. And so you just take a deep breath. But at no point in time has anybody in the chapter, I think we're very fortunate in the big country and surrounding areas. I have never felt uncomfortable, singled out because I'm a woman, whether it be from fans, players, coaches. They have accepted me as one of their own. And so, I was fortunate to know a lot of people in the chapter, but that's how the chapter treats anybody. They welcome you in as a family. They're always there. And so, but yeah, it's a little different as a woman. You mentioned somebody else in the chapter having the same size clothes as you. Not quite the case for me.
Right.
And so, but anyway, I've
But
really,
if you're a female that want to play
yes,
and are
I do.
in the same size as Katie,
Yes.
you're taken care of.
And I feel like we could make this
Yes,
work.
exactly. Come on. And so now they're making like women officiating pants.
Cute.
Yes, and so it's
Do they come in pink?
no.
Only
they
on
make
October.
it.
In October, they may wear pink.
Yes, I
You
love
have a
that.
pink whistle.
Yes, I love that.
But I love just being an official, but especially like for my daughter, she comes out on the field every game during halftime, and other girls and even little kids, like little kids, come up and say, "Women can do this," and it's like, yes, anyone can.
Well, and I think if you're, and honestly, and we've gotten to whether it's Kelly Masters or whoever's been on our show that are in a male-dominant like NFL agents sideline reporting, that's changed so much that you now can see as a girl, if you see a girl calling a Super Bowl, you see a woman in the Super Bowl officiating. So I just want to encourage you. I do the football for Wiley, so it's hard for me to officiate football, but I can't encourage you enough. If you have a passion for football, officiate it. If you have a passion for basketball, officiate it. If you have a passion for a sport, officiate it, because it's a great opportunity to make some money, but you're going to help kids, you're going to help schools, you're going to help communities. Because what happens, and I know we got to go because knowing's half the battle, is if there's not enough officials to do a Thursday night junior high game or a Thursday night JV game, you know what's going to happen? That school's going to have to get coaches to do it. That school's going to get people from in town to do it. Opens up there. Oh, that's just a homer. We're playing 5-on-7. We're playing on this. But when you've got more people in the chapter, you can cover the schools that the chapter wants to cover. So I can't encourage you enough. If you have any desire, maybe think of this as a much better Uber driver gig. If you need a second job, if you need some extra income and want to create some acceptance with people, you can go do this. And so I would encourage you, again, Patty Haynes, this Tuesday, what time?
5:45.
5:45. You can head there. They'll explain everything to you. Feel free to go back and listen to this podcast and listen. But is there somebody they could reach out to if they got questions?
Hey, go on our website, AbileneFootballRefs.org. That's AbileneFootballRefs.org. And there's contact information, the meeting location. If I've forgotten anything, I promise you it's on the website.
Well, go check it out. Phil, Katie, appreciate y'all coming in. And maybe we can start when football gets going, which is so right around the corner. Training camps have started. All those things. College will start soon. True days will start around here. Maybe we can get an official to come in and tell us what your Friday night was like that night and what your Friday night's going to be like on the coming night. So, again, appreciate y'all coming in.
Thank you.
And don't forget, check it out. When we come back, we're going to look at knowing is half the battle and see if Josh was able to come up with anything because we took it from him all ago. We'll be back right after this.
Thank you so much for letting us come in. That was
That was
so good. Yes, thank you so much.
I know it's.
Yeah, it's coming.
to meet you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Katie.
Really appreciate it.
Welcome to the Hodge Pack, sports life and everything in between as we're rolling along in our 8 o'clock hour. We're glad that you're with us. I appreciate Phil and Katie coming on. And Josh, I know you mentioned early on you officiated some baseball when you got out of college or maybe in high school.
Mhm.
I officiated a little bit of baseball. I think I was in college. It was okay. And again, there's not a sport. Not travel, little league through high school that there's not a shortage where they need them, and a lot of that is because the big country's so big, and there's so many schools that need coverage of officials. Like the basketball chapter, we go all the way to Gordon to officiate or Lingleville. Now I think Stephenville's in our chapter. Stephenville's part of it too. We go to Dublin, and so it's so important. And I don't know how far the football chapter goes. But I do think it's cool now that you can't make an excuse. Well, I'm a girl. Well, no, that's not an excuse
No, I
anymore.
love it. Yeah.
And so Katie doing that, but I know it'd be hard for you maybe
Well,
to
the
do
time commitment on evenings and weekends is difficult to pull off, and I know that's true for a lot of people. When you have your own children involved in things, kind of got to weigh what your opportunities are. But it's something that I've always would enjoy to get back into, and especially now being an adult age, because and it was very difficult. And I know that this is one of the reasons that they have difficulty recruiting, and that is parents and coaches being a little hard to deal with. And you have to have a little bit of a thick skin, obviously, because you're going to make people don't like.
Right.
But some people take it a little over the top, and that's one of those things that I've always just hated when you see parents that act like that, because they do make it difficult to get people to want to coach, because there's coaching shortages in most of these youth leagues and stuff, and it's because parents are hard to deal with. So that's free advice. It's not the official but don't be a jerk.
well, you're in luck. So it is knowing up about it.
Well, I was
That's
actually
one of it.
yeah, well, we're just gonna go to we'll have several. I was thinking today when I came over and you started talking about career championship earlier, and it kind of took away what I was going to do. But I'll mention why I think about this, because every Friday when I come into this building, there's a security guard that's here, and he's here overnight. I'm sure he does a great job. I'm not disparaging him in the least, but he typically is like watching a video on his phone, sitting there. Ever so often he gets up and walks the premises. There has been times that he's really scared me because suddenly I turn a corner, the door opens, and he's there.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, good morning.
I
But
really
I
need to start asking him what his burrito choice is.
Honestly,
I see him every day, every Friday at about 6:20, 6:30.
Yeah.
so I thought that has to be a fairly easy job. I mean, now it could get hairy. Obviously, that someone could break in the building could catch on fire. I mean, Lord knows the air conditioner doesn't work, so that's not comfortable. But I thought, at what point would a job be? Could you get a job that was too easy? That was like you had. What's my motivation to go to work? This is just too easy.
Well, it's funny you mentioned there again. I've said it all the time. You can go back to sports or Seinfeld. There's the episode where George gives the security guard a rocking chair and falls asleep, and he's asleep in the store gets robbed while he's asleep. So, it could get too easy.
Yeah. So and
I would get bored.
yeah. Well, I think if you get bored constantly, So I was going to talk about that, but then we already talked about where is your motivation in work and stuff like that. So we're going to go on to something that is a little bit more real and hit me personally. And as y'all know, I work at First Bank and Trust, who's a sponsor of the show, and we're glad to have them as a sponsor. And we're right now doing a lot of pushing on our. And I'm supposed to wear a shirt on Fridays, but I don't like to wear it. T-shirt that says "Don't click the link." Okay, yeah, and I know y'all have all gotten texts from Netflix that say your account's suspended. You need to log on right now, to reactivate your account. I get those from PayPal, from Amazon. It runs the gamut. I get them from places I don't even have subscriptions to. So
Right,
I mean,
yeah,
it's brilliant. So I think, so we're always told, don't click the link, don't click the link. Think about what you're doing. Don't open attachments. All those things that you need to do to protect your own
hover over the
cybersecurity.
hyperlink.
cybersecurity. And I'm very very trained in that. We have a lot of training through the banking industry on helping not only to secure your own stuff, but teach your customers how to do so also. And you hear stories all the time of people who, wires go out from their bank account, and then later they're like, I didn't do that, and all these things and it's because they authorized somebody to do it unwillingly, and it's terrible tragedy. All that being said, if you see any suspicious activity from me on LinkedIn, it's not me. My account got hacked. Not only my LinkedIn account, but my Walmart.
Is that another form of flattery? Want to be you? They say
I don't know what the purpose is.
Yeah, it's the highest form of flattery.
They also tried to hack my Facebook account, but I had the dual level of security in there, and I got just a random thing on my phone asking me to allow someone, this other computer to get on Facebook, and I was like, this is what started me in this rabbit hole. I was like, I didn't give I'm not logging on to Facebook. I don't do that very often, but someone is trying to log in. And then I got a identity alert on my phone. And so I full-fledged got the full court press, I guess, hack attack.
Identity theft?
Well, my credit reports are all locked, and I do have identity protection. I'm very protective of it. And that's why I think it's funny that it didn't happen to me. And all on the same day, I ordered a 12-inch veggie delight in Carlsbad, California, 60 pounds of ground beef from the Louisville Walmart, and my Facebook or my LinkedIn email changed to some bunch of gibberish at gmail.com. To which when I try to log in, it says my email is not active, so I can't even get the password reset. So I don't have any control over that. And then, like I mentioned, someone tried to get onto my Facebook, and
So has the ground beef arrived?
I called Walmart.
Did they change your job to Fuzzy Wuzzy?
I hope so.
Okay, me too.
That would be twofold.
that would be hilarious.
If they were to change Josh's job title or name,
that he's a private dancer on the side.
and Fuzzy Wuzzy, two things. One, they listen to the show.
Yes, and we appreciate that.
And two, great prank.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm getting trolled big time.
Yeah.
I would absolutely love
So
that.
you really do, and you think about it, and you're exactly right, that people are making money off of, whether it's TV, radio, we do the same thing, of these campaigns that you're having to create to say, hey, don't and it's not just the elderly anymore. It's always like, well, be sure, watch the elderly, they're coming after them, They're coming after anybody that can get.
Oh, and the other funny thing was someone else was listening to my Spotify, and they were listening to very terrible music. And now that music pops up on my suggested stuff, and I don't know how to fix that.
That's pretty
Oh, that's annoying. So I want to go back to this T-shirt situation. So I see you're not wearing the
So when
don't
are you
click
clicking?
it.
Yeah, my
Don't
wife
click.
told me I needed to be a team player and wear the T-shirt.
I mean, I would love to wear a T-shirt.
We're supposed to wear the T-shirt on Friday.
What is in the truck? You
I
gonna
did
change
wear-
from Clark Kent to Superman here in a minute, or what?
Well, maybe. I did wear it once. It's a green T-shirt that just says, "Don't click the link." I have two problems with it. As one, I don't wear T-shirts in public in general. I mean, that's just not something that I do. And two, I don't have the largest biceps in the world, but this shirt thinks I do.
So you're wearing the
Brooks- medium?
You're wearing the Brooks Koepka line.
Yes, the sleeves are incredibly tight.
I like
I feel like I might go into the Hulk Hogan, like flex real big and then rip it off.
I may have
but then
to
I
swing by
couldn't
first
actually
base.
tear it.
Harley,
I may just swing by First Bank and Trust today to see if you're wearing.
Yeah, but and against my wife's advice, so she told me you have to be a team player, supposed to wear the shirt, wear it. I didn't wear it. But I did wear
you
it
get
once.
reprimanded at work for not wearing the clip shirt.
No,
You're gonna
No.
get fined. But that's what you need to say. Like
let's find me a nickel.
you need to be like a Marshall Lynch. I'm just here, not fine.
Not to be fine, right? So maybe I should put the shirt on. I don't know.
I think
didn't.
so.
But
I'm with Leanne on this one.
So be careful with what you say.
Yeah, and this is a no joke. Other than it is funny with all the stuff that happened to me all this last week. And the thing is like I guess I don't change my passwords obviously enough. Someone was able to access my email and then change stuff, and because they changed my Walmart app password also when I tried to. I got an email saying I ordered 60 pounds of ground beef.
Wow.
And so the thing is like, and this is like I said, it is not a joke, but it is kind of funny, just the random things that happen. But be careful with that stuff, and that's something that it. Luckily, I think I'm knock on wood. I'm monitoring things, making sure I don't have random credit card charges to other things. Whoever got that Veggie Delight, first of all, you suck. And why would you order a Veggie Delight? That was the only thing that was not able to rectify the situation before. And it was $12.
That should have sounded the alarms. I don't look at you and think you're going to order a veggie
Yeah,
delight.
nowhere is
no better.
No.
Look at my order history.
Yeah.
Like,
There's no Veggie Delight coming here. And when we come back, I don't think Nick saved either, but when we come back, we'll talk SEC ball and head into the weekend.
Yeah, like crap.
What is the Veggie Delight?
it's a
Bread
a
with
sandwich
veggies.
with no
With no
meat
protein.
or cheese.
It's a what?
On the subway, like I used to use this because I ordered my food in advance.
Welcome back to the Hodge Pack. We're glad that you're with us this morning. We are brought to you by Lytle Land and Cattle. Don't forget, you can listen to KLGD anywhere in the world with KLGD1069.com. So be sure, and if you're in the car driving to work or leaving somewhere and heading wherever,
Did you see his hand motion?
while I was driving.
I love it.
Be sure you download and listen to it anywhere. Don't forget, also head over to the HodgePackSports.com, our YouTube channel. Check all those things out. Our podcast, we appreciate that as well. And also, don't forget, JB will be in at 10, followed up with Greg Austin with the Texas two-step, and just tons of stuff going on. Of course, Red Dirt Crowd this weekend. And we're just glad to be a part of KLGD, playing great music and being with you on Friday mornings. We never take our listeners for granted, so we appreciate you guys very much.
There's a few I take for granted.
Oh, yeah?
I've got a list. Not
Some
quite
of them
like
have been
Happy
mean to Joshua.
Happy Gilmore, but
Oh, yeah, there is a
uh,
couple. So we've mentioned college football. We've mentioned a little bit with Jason Fitz. Don't forget, again, we'll have that episode of the podcast you can go back and listen to. We talked a lot of Big 12, but we talked about two new SEC teams, which is Texas and OU. SEC, of course, we covered the A&M Aggies here on 106.9. Their media days were this past week, and their top folks that are listed, again, Georgia number 1, LSU 2, Tennessee 3, and Alabama 4. Probably a long time since Alabama's been 4. And a couple things. One, they threw out this week that if Saban doesn't get it to another college football playoff or win a Super Bowl, his legacy has a chance to be
balls.
diminished.
fake
There's
news.
no way. There.
That's dumb. That's clickbait.
Yes. Don't click on the link.
Don't click on that article.
Yeah,
That
not at all.
validate somebody's stupidity.
Street
Yeah, I mean, that
trash.
truly is put out there only to fire up the Alabama fans and make all of them click on the article.
Yeah, so if they don't have a great year, they're going to be pointing his head on a stick.
Which I just don't think there's any way. I mean, that would literally be the equivalent if
That's like saying Tom Brady's not the best
Right.
anymore because he
If Tom-
didn't go out winning the
Well,
Super
if
Bowl.
Tom-
Exactly.
it would, because Tom did win the Super Bowl the year before, but it would be if Tom Brady said, you know what, I am going to go play for the Raiders. And he went to the Raiders, and they did exactly what Jason Fitz said, and they went 6-10 in 1 year at 46 years old or 47 or whatever. Nobody's going to say, you know what, he's not the greatest of all time. You know, he's not. His
Yeah,
legacy
he's not
is
who we
diminished.
thought he was.
I mean, we don't think Jordan's diminished because he played for the Wizards for a little bit. He's still Michael Jordan. But I do think it is interesting. And one of the things that Saban mentioned this past week, as I was watching, he mentioned it on Greeny's radio show. Greeny asked Saban what he and how he develops his expectations. And he said, I think expectations are hard in that if your expectations are, he mentioned golf, if your expectation is to shoot 74 and you go out and shoot 79 1 year, you shoot 74, the next year you shoot 79, and your 79 is still really good and you're disappointed about 79, he's saying just finding a way to embrace and be as good as you can, that is their expectation. And I'm just wondering, what kind of Alabama are we going to get? Because the other coaching situation that we see is questioning is in the East Coast with Bill Belichick. Is his not legacy, but it's his time diminishing? I don't think Saban's time is diminishing at all in Alabama. He can be there as long as he wants. But do you see or do you think Alabama's going to be the one that dethrones Georgia, or is it going to be somebody like Tennessee?
Ooh, that's tough. I don't see Alabama dethroning. Honestly, I don't see anybody dethroning Georgia at all. But it's not Alabama for me.
Well, and here's the thing. I expect Georgia to be the best team in college football and play for a national championship again. But it's hard to maintain that level of greatness, and especially when you move that into the college arena, because you have a lot of turnover on the roster. Half their team got drafted in the first round. They're going to be playing in the NFL. So they got to replace those guys. They've had the recruiting class to do so, but you got new guys that have to come in and then also perform. And you have to what I like to call avoid the the Texas curse that just says like, well, Georgia, we're good, and then you got to actually do it on the field. And so there's always that chance that they get a little lax, or those guys that were top recruits that everyone thought was just going to plug in and go might not have that next year, So
and see, I think the team that intrigues me, the two teams that intrigue me, is not just Ole Miss to see what Pippen does, but is Brian Kelly at LSU. You no longer have the excuse, well, we can't recruit the kids that other people can to Notre Dame because maybe the requirements to get into Notre Dame are different. I'm not saying requirements to get into LSU are hard, but they are different. And they started showing some stretches at the end of the year. They got into the SEC championship. So what will LSU be like? I think they may be one of the threats. But the biggest threat that's got to be, and I don't know if they will, is the $10 million coach that you're going to hear on this radio is Texas A&M. Because you do have Texas and OU coming. You do have the greatest class, and you got challenged by Alabama saying that you paid these great players, and you still didn't do very good. And you bring in Bobby Petrino to be your offensive coordinator. To me, A&M has got to make a huge push. Because if not, there's too much money to buy out Jimbo. But you have to start figuring it out because A&M, and everybody gives Texas the tough, they're the Dallas Cowboys of college football. We're always back. We're always good. But where is A&M in that? Because their tradition, their legacy, their fan base, they want to win as much as anybody in Texas does. And I think Jimbo Fisher has got to find a way to start closing that gap because you jump ship to the SEC and you've really never made an impact except the 1 year where Johnny Manziel won.
Well, and I think that them starting ranked so low as opposed to typically, in the SEC, you get this whole kind of incestuous thing where everyone's ranked in the top 10 and then they like beat each other and those jockey and then they start to fall off even though they're, because it's not uncommon for a SEC team to be 2-3 in the nation and then end up with 4 or 5 losses. And we've seen that with A&M, where they won the first game of the year, jumped into the top 5, and then barely scratch out the Meineke Car Key Bowl. So. But those expectations from the fan base obviously are very high, because they don't take a down year. But from inside the room, and going in picked to be 10th in the conference, that might kind of change that a little bit. I don't know.
To me, that's got to be bulletin board material. If I'm A&M, if I've got that, guys, they think you're 10th.
Yeah.
Which means probably deep down, if we were to rank Texas and OU right now, you're going to be behind them.
Oh, absolutely. I think I don't know how y'all feel, but I look for them to bounce back this year. I mean, obviously they need to, but I really do. And I think another team that I'm going to be watching is definitely Ole Miss. And I don't know that they got these rankings completely right. I think I would probably put Ole Miss a little bit higher. But, yeah, Texas and OU definitely would be put before A&M.
See, and I think one of the reasons why you see Ole Miss, I think Ole Miss is going to be interesting because I think Lane Kiffin. But I also think I look at Bobby Petrino very similar to that I look at Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore's got an opportunity to go to the LA Chargers. And, hey, I'm no longer under Dallas Cowboy. I'm no longer under this golden child of Jerry Jones. I am going to do my own thing. Bobby Petrino had some success at Arkansas and Louisville, had some issues with the motorcycle accident and all that. But now he's got a chance. If he can be the one that helps turn around Texas A&M, he gets an opportunity to be a head coach again. So, anyway, hey, we're wrapping it up, walking into the weekend. Josh, what are you doing this weekend?
I'm about to go on vacation.
All right. Josh is on vacation. All right. Good times.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, educate them on navigating in the front seat.
Yeah.
Misty, what do you got this
I'm
weekend?
going to be at Mulligan's, raising all the money and doing all the good.
Hey, that's where I'll be tomorrow as well. Hey, have a great day. Thanks again to Jason Fitz. Thanks to Katie and Phil. Go out, find a way to officiate, make that money, and also impact people. We'll be back with more Hodge Pack next Friday. Have a great weekend.
I should have named that earlier.